Everybody, welcome back with the Purplatypus is the name, and today we are looking at the 5 best gold units. Are they called rares? Are they called epics? They're called epics. Today we're talking about the 5 best ones. And now I want to be clear, just going out, up front. Best, and when I'm saying best, this is subjective. These are the ones that I find the best. And because of the nature of the game, different units will be better on different maps. For example, it would not be hard for me to imagine a map where Butterfly is the best in the game, or maybe Blade or Might. Like they'll have different things. These are the ones that I've had the most success with in my playthrough. And I also want to start with a honorable mention. Didn't quite make the cut, but I think that is one of the best characters in the game if you're doing the right team, and that is Angel. Angel is a free-to-play unit. We all get Angel. I mean, most gold units are free-to-play over time, but she is very good. But I don't feel like I usually need a healer that bad. And when she's not healing, she's not doing that much. Do yourself a favor, get Light of Healing. This ability is really good. The other one that I got is not that good. It's good, but I probably shouldn't have got it. Now, the thing is, her trait is really, really good once she's at 5-star. When you are below 5-star and you get 1 random level 1 buff is not that good. When you get 3 random attribute buffs, that is super good, especially because you can do AoE healing. Everyone gets it. And why that's so important is because if you look at the PayPal guys, most of them, not all of them, but most of them will have some sort of get 3 buffs to trigger a passive effect, right? Like this person will do a fuck ton more damage if they have at least 3 buffs. This person will do a bunch more defense if they have at least 3 buffs. So they have like this internal synergy with having lots of buffs, and she's a great enabler for it. However, she is only going to be an honorable mention in today's video. Now, you could probably guess who is going to be on the video, just, spoiler alert based on what I use. But I am going to put number 5 for me is Lightning. Now, Lightning, I think, deserves on a lot of people's list is probably higher up. And I think Lightning's good. But as I've been doing higher level maps, Lightning has not fallen off. They're actually insane, but I haven't felt like there's not as much utility out of this character in general. They just have a lot of power and a lot of tankiness, which is really good from a Seeker. It's a very, very uncommon Seeker unit where they are like tanky. So what's their trait? Increase your physical attack and your physical defense. And if you move towards an enemy and you're healthy at the end of your turn, which you probably will be if you started healthy at the beginning of your turn, you are going to take 20% less damage for 1 turn. This doesn't care about front, back, side, anything. You're taking 20% less damage. It does have a long cooldown, but early on, it's really good, and it goes down to actually a 30% damage taken buff with a 2-turn cooldown. So this is insane. This is a very, very, very good passive. Now, getting into their skills really quick. It's honestly all hits. So you could do, I don't really like this ability, Will to Survive. If they're dying at the start of the turn, recovers 50% HP. And you recover some energy. I do really like recovering energy, but you have to be dying, which means you have to get below 30% life. I usually feel like I'm either dying in 1 shot or not taking anything because of the passive, so I don't really like this. But we'll just talk about, we have 5 characters, so I'll talk about the ones I like, not the ones I dislike. How about that? Knight's Glory, this is not unique to her. However, still giving yourself an instant speed attack up for 2 turns and giving yourself a 20% physical shield. You could also do this to anyone in the Union, but man, is this ability powerful. It's a long cooldown, which is good because it's so powerful, but makes you tankier, makes you deal more damage, everything Lightning wants to do. Honorable mention to Crit Command, making everyone crit more within 2 tiles is good, but 2 tiles is kind of small for a Seeker. You have to be running kind of a dedicated team, and like you're trying to get behind someone, and that means they can't be behind a different target because you have to be like, it's kind of hard to make it good, but I do like that. 25% less damage after you crit, insane. Take less damage. I actually think this one's extra good. I typically hate hardening because a lot of times I just die in 1 hit on higher level tower, but this makes it so you lose 8%, like you take 8% less damage, and this character is really tanky, so you typically don't die, and then afterwards you get a extra big damage reduction. Unique lightning skill for Lightning increases their speed by 50 points and increases crit by 50% if you move more than 3 tiles. Absolutely, you want to be critting. That way, all the time, you're taking way, way less damage, and you're dealing less damage. Critting makes you deal more damage, and also by critting, you get to take less damage. It's fucking incredible. Also, Gale Dance, huge, huge AoE, powerful attack here. Before attacking, get crit 2, get another 30% crit, do 75% AoE damage to all enemies in a 2-tile radius, fucking badass ability. Basic attack, being able to give you lifesteal, being able to shred, badass. Everything about this character is sick. And I didn't even mention the best ability that they have is their signature ability. Phantom Storm, 75% damage to all enemies in a 3x4. That's 12 squares. That's fucking huge. That is a massive area. And it also, so it does good damage because you're probably critting. Otherwise, the damage is low. 75% is low, but you're critting a lot. And you're giving them all attack down 1 and move down 1. It's absolutely just like a fucking fire character. You should be using lightning. If you're not, lightning is sick. Next, number 4. We are going to go to, personally, Abyss. Abyss, I think, is considered higher tier. Same with lightning. I think they're considered higher tier characters than what I am giving them, but I think they're really good. I just like other characters more. So the trait here, extra magic attack, at the end of your turn locks onto 2 random enemies within a 4-tile radius and gives them 1 random level 2 attribute debuff. Level 2 attribute debuffs are strong. Apparently no healing received also counts as well, so she could randomly turn off healing. This is very good. I find an issue is like when I get into certain levels, I've had this part of the ability kind of not do anything too frequently. Where it's like, not in terms of just being sometimes it's dangerous to stay 4 tiles away. Sometimes I want to move up, hit them, and then run away. Be like 5 or 6 tiles away so they can't counterattack or hit me on their turn. But also, then it's like, I've been on stages where things are just immune to attribute debuffs. And I don't like, just like, I've had this depression has not worked that much for me. However, she does have this really cool, I think this is the signature ability, Erosion. It's a single target attack, 85% damage, and inflicts 2 random level 2 debuffs. So as long as you are able, I think this ability is quite a bit better than her trait. As long as you are able to actually, like, you know, they're not immune to it and you're able to hit with them and then back away with like a marching command. I think that's good. Another reason why she's insanely good, just to highlight a couple things here. Dark Withering is an insane ability, but so life loss is powerful, also lowers their healing. It's a big AoE that does 50% magic attack to all enemies and it hits them multiple times. So it does activate at the end of their turn, so it is a little bit weird, but it does get buffed by damage over time. It's considered a damage over time thing, even though it doesn't say anywhere. It just says it's a debuff, a different thing in like the guide said it's a damage over time. However, this ability is fucking sick too. If you get this one instead, Hypnosis, deal 35% damage and inflict sleep for 2 turns. Sleep is a rare thing to come by. You're going to see it again on this list, but this is a range 3. You're only going to see a range 1 or an adjacent tile, like later in this list. So this is a really good ability. It is kind of expensive with a long cooldown, and it doesn't do that much damage, but sleep is good, especially at range. Corruption is whatever. It's like her passive, but worse. This is pretty good for tanking, but she's so squishy. I don't feel like it helps that much. Also, another thing I really want to highlight here is Crumbled Order. This is a Drifter Allies leader buff, which is really good. Attack 10%, defense 20%. I don't have anything else with a leader buff for drifters. And what is a drifter buff? If you come and look here, there's a lot of good shit in here. Guzman, I know no one likes him besides me. But you've got Nightingale, you've got the Dark Ice Boys and the Dark Fire Boys. You've got Outlaw Archer, you've got Flame Sorceress. So there's a lot of good things here. So if you're going to be running these units, you're going to just want that ability in general. Also, final shout out to Dark Ripple. AoE, 70% damage, locks passive skills, locks reaction skills, 2-tile radius, it lasts for 2 turns. You could use it every turn as long as you have an MP or an energy battery. Fucking crazy skill. She's super, super strong, and I think you'll be very happy to be using her on your team. Now, number 3, I am going to give to Flame Sorceress. Flame Sorceress has one of my favorite passives, increase attack by 10%. So apparently this increases her physical attack and her magic attack. I don't know why. I don't think she has a single thing that scales off of physical attack. But it does say attack. It might mean M attack, and they might have mistranslated it. I don't honestly know. But once you get it up to level 3 is the big one. Lock on to 2 random enemies within a 4-tile radius and inflict Scorch. Or you could have it lock onto 1 random enemy with inflict Scorch. So I believe, I haven't tested this because I just unlocked this earlier today. I think you could choose the same random enemy twice if there's only 1 option. So I might be wrong about that because I've only used it with this ability, but I think you could choose the same target twice. But regardless, you inflict Scorch. Scorch is a very powerful. Characters lose 10% of their HP after each turn. 10% of their max HP, by the way. So the reason this is good is because if they take Scorch damage at the end of their turn. However, if they have Scorch and you inflict Scorch, they instantly take that 10% up front and then they'll still have Scorch, so they'll take it at the end of their turn. So she has this awesome ability here called Fireball. 125% damage, which is already good, and it inflicts Scorch, which is a 10% damage. So if you do 125% damage to them, then you inflict Scorch, at the end of your turn, you're going to inflict Scorch on them again to deal an additional 10%, and then their turn will come up and they'll take another 10%. You can nuke things down so fast with this character. It's crazy. And so much of her damage is up front, but she also has a huge amount of damage, not damage over time, I guess it is, but percent HP damage. Some of her other really, really good abilities here is she has a pretty good AoE fire ability. However, she has a like pretty good passive tree as well, but I'm not too interested in these. I'm interested in her abilities. I don't love Fire Pillar. It's not insane, but it is a range 3 with a cross tile, so it is pretty easy to hit things with. Not the most powerful ability, but it's still good. However, Blazing, this is her passive, but worse. But the thing is, her passive is so good that this is so good to have. This means that this definitely triggers. If you have your passive, your trait, trigger and Scorch someone, and you're within 3 tiles instead of 4 tiles, this will also trigger if there's only one target on the same target. So you can hit them with your Scorch of your Fireball, then this will Scorch them, and then your other ability will Scorch them. And then their turn comes up, they get Scorched. So they're taking like 30% of their maximum health before shit even happens, before they even try to move around all the fire tiles you're putting down. Really, really good ability. Now, firewalking is just nice to have. It's a quality of life. Sometimes you put down a bunch of fire with other characters and you just don't want to worry about it. You can walk on it, you recover HP, you have less damage taken. It's really, really nice, but it's mostly quality of life. It's not broken. However, what is kind of broken here, this ability is cool, and I think this ability is great, but Pyroblast, single target attack deals 170% damage. If they have Scorch, which is impossibly easy on this character, the damage dealt is increased to 200%. 200%. I haven't seen a percent that high on any other character. Even my Legends only hit for 180 most of the time, which is probably ends up being more like from a pure damage standpoint because of the stat difference, but 200%. And they're Scorched, right? If you're getting that effect, it's easy to Scorch them. It does cost 4, but you could use this every turn if you have a battery. If you have some way to get this up. This is a huge amount of damage. I mean, this character, she has a little bit of AoE, but honestly, she's able to shred really, really high HP enemies. And even the thing keeping her from the top spot is really that there's just a lot of bosses that are highly resistant to Scorch effects, where it's like, oh, if it's a percent of your maximum HP, they resist 95% of it. If it's 50%, no problem, keep it up. If it's like 95%, then you're mostly relying on her flat damage output, which is still good, but a lot of her kit kind of goes underutilized. Still, absolutely one of the best characters in the game. Hiccup, hands down. Number 2, I think you guys are gonna think this is spicy because of who number 1 is. Number 2 is going to be Lash. Lash is such a fucking Chad of a character. Her passive trait might be the best trait that I've seen in the game. For a couple reasons. We'll take a look at it. At level 5, it gets nutso butso. It starts at 15%. It goes up to 30% of magic damage. So after attacking, additionally deal 20%. It goes up, we'll just say 30% of magic attack as piercing damage to the target. After using support or healing skills, additionally heals the target once for 20% of magic attack. Probably 30% at level 5. The second part is not as good, but this first part, piercing damage is the best damage type. It ignores, it's direct damage that ignores the target's physical defense and magic defense. I also believe it ignores shields. I can't remember that 100%, but I believe that's how it works, if I'm remembering correctly. But direct damage that ignores the target's physical defense and magic defense. So this says 30% magic attack, right? But it's more than that. It's 30% magic attack that's ignoring their defense. So it's like true damage. It's very strong. This is a lot more than 30% damage. And this is whenever you do anything. When you attack with your normal attack, 80%, that's not 80%. That's 80% plus 30% piercing damage. When you attack with her signature ability, I don't even want to talk about it yet because it's so good. It should be your ultimate. Whip of Blame. Magical damage. Deals 60% damage to all enemies in a straight line of 5 tiles. Insane range. Then continues attacking. Deals piercing damage equal to 30% of the character's magic attack. This is... You'll see this when you use it, but it's not clear if you just read the ability. Both half of these trigger her trait. So we're going to say this is 30% because it sounds better. So this is doing 60% damage to all enemies in a straight line of 5 tiles. Then it deals 30% piercing damage. Then the second attack goes off that does another 30% piercing damage. And then that also triggers a 30% piercing damage. So just you're doing 90% piercing damage flat out. Then you're also doing 60% damage. That's 150% damage, which again doesn't sound like an insane amount. But remember that 90% of that is piercing. That is a lot of piercing damage. So she also has some like just a lot of good abilities here. Energy Ray is fine. Keep in mind it does 140% damage and gains shield break at a range of 1 to 2. This is good. It also does the 30% piercing damage, right? I personally did get a soul soothing on her. I might take it back. I might not. I think Energy Ray is good. I just liked having one healing ability on her in case someone needed to heal because all of her other abilities already did a lot of damage. I didn't feel that I needed that much damage. Dark Withering, we saw it on Abyss. It's a very good ability. I'm not in love with it, but I honestly don't think like Magic Defense 2 and Immunity Disrupt is insane. It's fine, but I think Dark Withering is just a better ability. Also, when you hit with this, it does do that AoE 30% piercing damage because you are attacking all these enemies, making Dark Withering way better on her than it is on Abyss. Protection of Darkness, we've seen that. So this one is the one that I actually think is a little more up in the air. I love that this is an instant speed, restores 25% of the target's HP, and then if they're unharmed, means they have full HP, you will also grant them damage and magic defense, which is just, it's very good. I like that it's instant and having a heal because then I ended up not wanting to use soul soothing that much. However, Dark Ripple is the way to go. Dark Ripple's better. It is, the issue is like, the only issue with Dark Ripple is that it costs 3 and can be used every turn, but this costs 3 and can be used every turn, and this is better than Dark Ripple. So it's kind of like, it's mostly going to depend on how they're set up. If they're all in a straight line, then the other one's going to be better. However, if you have a bigger area to cover, this one will be better because it will also give them passive seal, reaction seal for 2 turns. But it will do, again, that 30% piercing. Dark Ripple is an incredibly good ability. I just think that it happens to not be insane on her because the other ability is really good. As far as this, right, you do single target attack deals piercing damage equal to 60%, which means at level 5-star, it's going to be 90% piercing damage just straight up over 2 hits, or 80% damage and dispels debuffs. I mean, honestly, all of her abilities are pretty good, but this trait really puts a lot of damage on the board. Piercing damage is very powerful, and I love it, and I love this character. I use her all the time. Now, number 1. I have a feeling some people might think I'm thinking of Stormbreaker. I might be thinking of Suppression, but I think the true lovers in chat already know Nightingale. Nightingale is my number 1 gold unit in the game personally, for so many reasons. She's insanely fun. She has a fucking really cool trait, but she has my favorite attacks in the game, bar none. I love this character. Nightingale is one of my waifus. She's my golden waifu, okay? So what's her trait? AoE damage taken is reduced. Let's just look at the 5-star because eventually everyone will get there with golds. The effect is improved to AoE damage taken is decreased by 30%. That's pretty nice right there. 30% less AoE means that you're probably going to have to single target her down. That's a lot less damage. However, if other allies within 6 tiles around the character are dying, which is 6 tiles is a pretty big thing. Dying is not something I like to see, but the effect if they are dying is pretty good. You get 2 movement and 200 speed, meaning you're always going first and you get 2 more movement to do it. And at the start of the turn, the cooldown of all skills is decreased by 2 turns. So things automatically cool down by 1 turn per turn, and this will make it decrease by another 2 turns. That means anything with a 3-turn cooldown could be used every turn if you have a dying character within 6 tiles of her. But honestly, if someone just happens to die, she suddenly goes, boom, Superman mode. 2 extra movement, 200 speed, and all of her cooldowns come off instantly. Super cool trait that I love. But let's get into my favorite part about her. Let's take a look if it's actually here or if it's what's her past, her normal trait here. I don't even remember. She starts with a shitty ass first aid. All right, I don't like this ability. Her signature ability, I think, kind of sucks. It's too expensive. It's only 80%. It's not that good. But everything else, man, let's get into it. So rank 1, yeah, you can get an instant healing, 30% HP. Whoopee. But Weapon Eroder Deal single target attack that deals piercing damage equal to 30% of the target's maximum HP, and then inflicts attack down 2 for 2 turns. Meaning, if you're going up against something, even if they're resistant to this 30%, it doesn't really matter because you're still getting that attack down buff. But there are so many things in higher tower where just being able to chunk them down for 30% of their HP is so good for executing things. Like, not everything when you're up to in the 7 and 8 tower range is just a boss that resists this type of damage. A lot of things just have 8, 9, 10,000 HP, and this is just an insane amount of damage. Very, very good, and I love that as a debuff. Only costs 1 energy and has a 3-turn cooldown, meaning you could theoretically use it every turn. Now, Tranquilizer. I talked about sleep earlier. I think sleep is insanely powerful, especially when you're like scorching people, poisoning people, infecting people, things like that. This is a very awesome effect. And what I love about this, his range is very short, I will admit, but it is instant. That means you can start targeting someone. Let's say there's 2 people. You could hit this guy for 30% damage and sleep the other guy. I mean, you would do it in the opposite order because this one's the instant. But if there's a guy next to you, just instantly sleep him. And then you could target someone else totally else and just start chunking them down with your team and lowering their damage output. This takes them out of the combat for 2 turns. Or if you put a dot on them, it just makes them skip a turn. And at the end of their turn, they take the dot damage. Sleep is very powerful. And the fact that it's instant, you could do it on anything around you and then start focusing other things. It's basically like a get out of jail free card where we're like, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this guy's next attack. He's going to kill someone. No, he's not. You polymorphed him, right? It's insane. Now, when hit by an active single target attack, damage taken is decreased by 30%. It can be triggered 1 time per round. So remember, she has 30% AoE damage reduction. Now, if they actually try to single target her, she also has 30% damage reduction. That's a big fucking amount of reduction for very little investment. This is not with items. This is not with anything else. It's her trait and this. And it's only half of her trait. And it's only like the other reaction is like 50% less damage over time, which is insane. But I'm not sure how much I care about that, honestly. Maybe it's worth it. Different fights, different situations. I feel like archers are my worst enemy sometimes, and so this is good. Painkiller is a good ability. Instant, heals the target and gives them regeneration and damage reduction 30%. This is really good, but the best ability in the game is right across from it. Like, maybe my favorite ability in the game. This is a burning grenade. She might look like a healer. She's throwing fucking Molotovs. This is like Luxite grenade, but even better in a lot of ways. It is piercing damage equal to 10% of the target's HP to all enemies within 1 tile around the target, and changes the tiles into burning for 2 turns. Changing a 3x3 square into burning is insane. When almost doesn't matter what you're doing it on, because you're scorching them. Enemies are gonna have to move through it or move out of it. So they're either moving towards you, away for it, or they're staying in it. Either way, they're taking more damage or their positioning is getting worse. And what's good is like this will turn tiles that can't burn into burning tiles. This is more burning tiles than Barrel's burning wall. The burning wall, honestly, is probably better. To be honest, you could use it every single turn and it's kind of broken. But this is like the next best thing in the game almost. It is so good. It does have a 3-turn cooldown, but if someone's dying, you can do it every single turn, which is insane. And it does so much damage. The Scorch, this works really well when you're using the Fire Lady, that we just talked about, because she has immunity when she's walking around it, taking less damage, also scorching the shit out of them. This ability makes so many fights so much easier. I love Burning Grenade. Between being able to instantly put someone to sleep and then Burning Grenade a second group of enemies, and then on your off turns, you get to just do an a single target nuke and debuff, and you're fucking hard to kill because you have 30% of every type of damage resistance. I love this character. You do get some kind of cool magic attacks, right? But you could turn off their active skills, which is insane, but they have to be injured. But still. And then magical damage and increase the affected next healing skill by 15%. This one's kind of washed. I would not get that. But still, if someone's injured because you're already doing a good percent damage, you know what? Just turn off all their active skills. Make them walk around like a bunch of dummies. So that is my top character in the gold category. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know where you agree. Where do you disagree? What am I really overlooking? The characters I suspect people are going to be upset that I didn't mention are Suppression, are Divine Grace, and Butterfly. I think these are the ones that people are really, really high on. Candlelight I just got, and I actually think Candlelight could make this list, but I just don't have enough experience yet with how actually useful an energy battery is. But that is all for today, guys. Thank you very much. Purplatypus is Purplatypus. I'll see you on the flip-flops. Bye!
Platypus on the rise, watch the views go up. Content king, never down, always showing up, hitting milestones.